From Nutrien Ag Solutions, I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. We do have some snow chances here, primarily along and north of Highway 16. We've got another shot of extreme cold coming in over the weekend into early next week. And then we have some snow chances to talk about into early February, at least the chance for everyone to see some light snow as we go through the next 10 to 14 days. Take a look at the infrared satellite picture here getting started on the 29th. You see the big block across the Pacific, across western North America, the flow of the jet stream kind of doing something like this, where we have a cutoff flow across Baja California, northern Mexico that's going to be bringing heavy rain and some severe weather to parts of the southern U.S. And then we've got flow coming up over the top of that, bringing some snow to areas, again, kind of like near and north of Highway 16. Certainly some chances for snow south of that, but it's heaviest along and north of Highway 16. Here's a look at the radar right now. This is snow falling kind of near and north of Edmonton over toward Peace River, the Grand Prairie area. This is the area where the snow is going to be the heaviest over the next probably 4 to 5 days till we get another push of moisture coming in from the west over the backside of, getting into next week. We're talking about days maybe 7 to 14. The pattern kind of becomes a little bit more favorable for some chances of snow to slide across the entirety of the prairie, but no big shots of snow that are kind of obvious on the horizon. Take a look at those temperatures right now. It is coldest in the east, a little bit more mild as you make your way off to the west, kind of the remnants of the most recent shot of Arctic air in parts of Manitoba, Winnipeg, right around minus 15 early this morning. You make your way back over to parts of central and southern Alberta, you can find some readings here that are getting to above freezing across portions of central and southern Alberta. We'll look at the radar here, or the forecast precipitation, I should say, over the next 3 to 4 days. You see that snow near and north of Highway 16 today. This takes us into Wednesday afternoon. This is Wednesday evening. This is now your overnight. And then we wake up on Thursday morning to some light snow across central portions of Saskatchewan, maybe some flurries in central and southern portions of Manitoba, maybe waking up to some flurries across the Front Range there in north central Alberta, some snow in the Grand Prairie and Peace River area as well, continuing into tomorrow morning. This is your Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. This is now Thursday night. Look for some snow to spread across central and southern portions of Alberta overnight Thursday into Friday. Look for some light snow then spreading into southern Saskatchewan. This is kind of your best chance for some flurries, maybe some very light accumulating snow south of Highway 16. It's Thursday night into Friday. This is not a heavy snow event. This is just a chance for a light coating, maybe a couple of inches in some areas. We'll look at the overall upper level pattern I mentioned here. You got a branch of really strong flow with the polar jet up here kind of running through the prairie, a couple of troughs here. And then we've got this cutoff low across the southwestern U.S., portions of northern Mexico. This one tapping into the Gulf, bringing heavy precipitation to the southern U.S. Here we're bringing a little bit of Pacific moisture in here, and again, just some light snow where we've got that fast jet stream flow. Now I'll take the drawings off of here. We'll look at where this whole thing is going over the next 7 to 10 days. Let me bring it back here to today. Here's the fast flow just kind of being squeezed across the prairie, not amounting to a whole lot. It's not until we get into, this is your kind of Friday, this trough starts to make its way in, gives us more in the way of support to, again, bring that chance for some snow to the entirety of the prairie. But this is not a big storm system that tracks across the prairie. You see it kind of just being squeezed here by the ridge off to the south, such that we just get kind of some flow, some upper level support across the prairie, but the pattern goes right back to this very highly amplified blocked pattern. We've got another high over low where you see the flow doing something like this, going over the top of the ridge, down around the base of this trough. You get fast flow right here. It's just, it's not a sustained look for snow across the prairie. And then as we get into the early part of next week, let me take the drawings off. You see we get that flow once again coming basically straight out of the north. This is your shot of Arctic air that's going to spill in across parts of Western Canada, down into the Western United States, not quite as severe and widespread across the central U.S. And the entirety of the prairie here is the one that we saw about a week ago, but it's still going to drop those temperatures down to probably extreme cold warning levels over the weekend into early next week across much of the prairie. Ridging comes in pretty quick on the backside though, so those temperatures will rebound. And then as we kind of get into the mid-month time frame, it's going to be some fast flow coming across the Pacific. We'll have to kind of try to understand where that's all going to go for us. But 5-day increments, the next 5 days, here's your flow coming in just kind of quick across the prairie, but not, a big trough. We're not sending storm systems racing in. We're just kind of squeezing what little moisture there is out of the atmosphere right here, and it amounts to some very light snow. We'll go into the, next week time frame, February 3rd through February 8th. You see kind of the same thing, this blocked up pattern that's got flow at times coming in across the prairie, but in general, you've got convergent flow. You see the lines kind of coming together right here, and this often leads to sinking motion in the atmosphere. So this is not a real productive pattern, even though you see, a trough off to our southwest. It's blocked up. It's not a pattern that's developing. Big storm systems coming in across the prairie. And then as we take it even further, we get out to February 8th through the 13th. We're kind of getting right back to this pattern where you see the familiar persistent ridge setting back up. That takes the flow coming up over the top of it, back down in through the prairie in that northwest to southeast trajectory, which that too, not all that productive when it comes to significant snow. So then we start to look at, the big picture, looking at the entirety of it. And what caught my eye is I kind of dragged the forecast way out here into the mid part of the month is, this is a pretty good jet streak, pretty good extended flow coming in across the Pacific. We'll be looking for this kind of thing as we watch the MJO kind of swinging around out here in this region, looking for the impact here on, the potential for jet extensions across the Pacific Ocean, which could break the pattern down across North America, which has been kind of falling into this ridge trough pattern here, which, ridge west, trough east, delivering a lot of cold air, not much in the way of moisture to the Canadian prairie here through the entirety of the winter. We'll look at the impact here on moisture as we look at the precipitable water content, again, kind of focusing on the Canadian prairie and, the Pacific Ocean that leads up to it. And as I just kind of animate this, we'll play this. I want to bring it back and kind of incrementally step through. You see a little bit of the moisture kind of making its way in here right now up over the top of the ridge, but you see the deeper moisture, confined to these areas well off to the south. You see a little bit of a ribbon here of moisture come in. This is your Thursday night into Friday, kind of that late week chance for some snow, some light snow across the prairie. And then as we go through the weekend, we get that big shot of Arctic air, and the flow for a little bit is going to be kind of offshore across Western Canada. So not bringing any moisture, and it's going to be very cold and very dry through the first half of next week. And then it's as we get on the backside of that, the pattern kind of, gets itself back together. We get into the February 9th, 10th, 11th time frame, and this is when that jet extension starts to show up right across this region, and you start to see some of this moisture now from the Pacific Ocean being brought back towards Western Canada. This could maybe signal the next chance for some more, I don't want to say significant, but maybe more meaningful snowfall across the prairie, but this is well out there. I'm kind of highlighting the date in bad colors here, but we're talking about, February 12th, 13th, and 14th. So let's look at this with the European model, the precipitation type forecast over the next 2 weeks. Here's your snow north of Highway 16, Grand Prairie, Edmonton. You pick up some of the snow, the Peace River area over the next 24 to 48 hours. We get into the weekend. That's when we start to see the light snow chances becoming a little bit more common across the prairie, starting across Alberta on Friday morning, stretching into Saskatchewan, parts of southern Manitoba as we get into Saturday. This is maybe windy at times as this area of low pressure sneaks across the prairie. You see the surface low pressure being reflected here on Saturday night, getting into Sunday morning, sneaking across the region. So not a lot of significant snow accumulations from this, but certainly going to be feeling wintry as we talk about some snow falling and some winds with some big cold that's going to be following here over the weekend into the early part of next week. Just not going to be, seeing significant snowfall totals stacking up from this. So we'll look at that. We'll look at the accumulating snow totals here over the next 24 to 48 hours. Heaviest here in the Peace River to Grand Prairie area, maybe near and north of Edmonton, and then along and north of Highway 16. This is getting into the Friday and Saturday snow that you see stacking up here. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, it's not a lot. South of Highway 16, we're talking about maybe a couple of inches, but it could be blowing around, and then we'll have some cold air coming in on the backside. And as I just drag this all the way out through the next 15 days, and you look at the prairie, you're seeing some snow stack up here, but it's certainly more obvious north of the prairie. And then, as you get into some of the higher elevations here across Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest, we really do need to see some of the snow stacking up in this area. And I think that maybe as we get into mid-month, perhaps we'll be talking about more in the way of chances for snow accumulating across the prairie. Let's go ahead and just move on here, talking about the next 10 days from the European ensemble model. I pulled out the chance of stacking up 3 inches or more and then 6 inches or more over here. So this takes us through February 7th. And again, you see about, 30 to 60% chance of getting 3 inches of snow over the next 10 days. That feels about right. And then, 6 inches or more, half a foot of snow, probably unlikely unless you're in the Peace River, Grand Prairie area up toward Edmonton, near and north of Highway 16, watching the videos up there. If you're in the Prairie proper, north or south of Highway 16, you're probably going to get some snow over the next 10 days. Is it going to be significant? No. Will it be blowing around? Probably. Is it going to be followed by a lot of cold air? Yes. So we'll take a look at that cold air that falls into the region here. There it is over the weekend into early next week. Temperatures moderate on the back side of that, though. What does that look like? 3 degrees for the high today in Calgary, minus 19, minus 20 for the highs on Sunday and Monday. Edmonton, very similar, minus 3 today with some snow. It'll be blowing around as we head through the weekend. Those overnight lows down in the minus 29 to minus 30 range early next week. So certainly getting into extreme cold warning range in some of these areas. Regina, here's a look at that. You get hit with the cold air here in Saskatoon as well. Minus 29, minus 30 for the overnight lows here as we get started next week. Winnipeg, your temperatures bounce around. You feel the cold a little bit more here over the next 10 days overall, not really experiencing much in the way of warm-ups. That warm-up even a bit more muted as we head through the following days after the big cold shot is what I'm trying to say here. Just colder overall here in southern Manitoba over the next 10 to 15 days with the pattern here that is really favoring the big cold across the eastern prairies into the Great Lakes. So have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you again next Wednesday, potentially talking about a more active and snowy pattern in mid-February, but what you got is kind of what you got over the next 7 days across the prairie, other than some windy light snow as we head through the weekend.